In the year 2342, the world as we knew it was gone, buried beneath a mile of ice. The Great Freeze, they called it, a cataclysm that forced humanity underground, into the deep, dark burrows of the arcs. I was born in Arc 7, a city of cold metal and colder rules. Here, every breath of recycled air, every morsel of nutrient paste was a gift from the central authority, a gift we paid for with our freedom. Life in the Ark was a monotone hum of machinery and hushed whispers. We were told the surface was a lifeless wasteland, a frozen tomb where the sun was just a myth. The Ark is our salvation, the screens would blare. Obedience is survival. We were rats in a gilded cage, and most of us had forgotten what it felt like to want more than just the next day's ration. But I couldn't forget. My grandmother, one of the last surface-born, would tell me stories. Stories of a world painted in green and blue, of a sky so vast it could hold all your dreams. She'd whisper about the Whispering Valley, a place she swore the ice couldn't touch. A fable, everyone said, a dangerous fantasy. When she passed, she left me her only possession, a worn, leather-bound journal. Inside were hand-drawn maps, cryptic notes about wind patterns, and geological surveys that were strictly forbidden. Her final entry read, "The sun remembers, Ilara. You just have to find where it's waiting." That's when I knew. It wasn't just a story. It was a promise, a path. My work assignment was in the geothermal maintenance tunnels, the deepest, most forgotten part of the Ark. It was dangerous, but it was also my chance. Following my grandmother's maps, I started exploring the abandoned shafts, far beyond the patrolled zones. The silence down there was different. It wasn't the dead silence of the Ark. It was an ancient, breathing silence. Days turned into weeks. I repurposed old survey drones, jerry-rigged power packs, and scavenged parts, all under the constant threat of discovery. Any deviation from routine meant interrogation, or worse, re-education. My friend, Kale, a tech genius who owed me a favor, helped me bypass the network trackers. "You're chasing a ghost, Ilara," he'd warned, his face pale on the comm screen. "This will get you exiled to the ice." "Maybe," I replied, "but I'd rather freeze as a free woman than suffocate in here." One cycle, deep in a sector marked as unstable, my drone's sensors picked up something impossible. A trace amount of chlorophyll, airborne pollen. My heart hammered against my ribs. It was real. Following the faint signal, I pushed deeper, through collapsing tunnels and treacherous ice fissures that groaned like dying giants. The air began to change. It grew thinner but fresher. It tasted alive. I had to abandon the heavy gear, continuing with just a rebreather and a thermal pack. The old maps led me to a massive, reinforced blast door, sealed for centuries. "Project Eden," the faded stencil read. "Containment failure." My grandmother's journal held the key, a sequence of prime numbers, a code. With trembling fingers, I punched it into the auxiliary panel. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, with a scream of tortured metal that echoed through the ages, the gears began to turn. The door ground open, just enough for me to squeeze through. I was immediately blinded, not by darkness but by light. A raw, unfiltered, glorious light that I had only ever seen in contraband photos. When my eyes adjusted, I saw it. The Whispering Valley. It was more beautiful than any story. A vast, sunken caldera, warmed by geothermal vents and protected by a dome of shimmering, crystalline ice that acted like a giant greenhouse. Waterfalls cascaded down moss-covered rocks into a clear, blue lake. Trees, real trees, stretched their branches towards a sky that was a breathtaking tapestry of refracted light. The air was sweet with the scent of pine and damp earth. I took off my rebreather and took my first real breath. It was like drinking life itself. I laughed, a raw, uninhibited sound I'd never made before. Then I cried, for my grandmother, for all the generations who lived and died in the dark, never knowing this existed. But this paradise had a dark secret. Project Eden wasn't a failure. It was a cover-up. The Authority knew this valley existed. They had sealed it off, hoarding this pocket of life while the rest of humanity starved. This wasn't just a sanctuary. It was evidence of the greatest lie ever told. My discovery was no longer just about my own freedom. It was about everyone's. Going back was the hardest thing I'd ever done. The warmth of the valley called to me, promising a life of peace. But I couldn't leave my people behind. I couldn't let Kale and the others live a lie. I returned to the cold, sterile world of Arc 7. But I was a different person. The hope of the valley burned inside me like a star. I found Kale and showed him the drone footage. The look on his face shifted from disbelief to awe, then to a quiet, simmering anger. He was in. We began to plan, carefully, secretly. We started gathering others, people who hadn't let the Ark crush their spirit, the dreamers, the rebels, the ones who still looked up at the metal ceilings and imagined a sky. We are the whisper that will become a roar. We will not be humanity's last chapter, written in the dark. We will be the new beginning, written in the light. The Authority built our cage, but they made a mistake. They forgot that even in the deepest darkness, a single seed of hope is all it takes to start a forest. Our exodus is coming. We will risk everything, not just for survival, but for a life worth living. We will return to the sun. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If this story sparked something in you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of hope and defiance. Let me know in the comments what you would risk for a chance at true freedom. Stay curious and never stop chasing the light.